Hi guys, and thanks for tuning back in to Karma Challenge. This year's Joe as always, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally I'm sitting down and I'm recording gaming videos, which is great. I love doing that. However, when I first made my channel, I decided that I wanted to do all sorts of different things, and I didn't want to just be a Let's Player. Like I said, I love being a Let's Player, and I'm definitely going to continue to do that as well, but I want to start trying to branch my channel out a little bit, and that starts with basically this little project right here. I want to have a section of my channel where I can talk about anime and cartoons, and I'm going to call that particular series Let's Talk About Anime/Cartoons with Joe, where like I can just talk about different animes and different cartoons and like what I like about them, maybe some theory videos, maybe a few like top 10 videos, maybe some just straight up opinions that I have about certain animes and like how they affect my life and how they might affect yours, recommendation videos, basically just anything and everything that has to do with both animes and cartoons, because it's a huge part of my life, and I just I want to have something where I can feel free to talk about that kind of stuff, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it and I can make more videos like this. The goal is to have like one of these type of videos once per week. So basically, to get things started, what I want to do is start off with a top 10 video. Now, I definitely want to do all kinds of different projects on here, different like types of videos. I don't want to just get locked down into the top 10 genre. But just to kick it off, I figured just to kind of help me get used to this new format, and to kind of like wean you guys into it away from the gaming videos, we'll just do a top 10 video. That way it doesn't require a whole lot of editing on my part, and it can kind of get me into the format along with you guys. So today's video is going to be my top 10 animes, and it took me a long time to think about what my top 10 animes were and why they are that way, but I feel like I got pretty close to figuring it out ultimately for these top 10. Obviously, like, my tastes are going to change over time, so this won't always be my top 10 anime, but it is the current top 10 I have. Now, just a little disclaimer before we get into this, there are definitely spoilers ahead on some of these, and this is all my opinion. This is what I think are the top 10 animes for me. This is not everyone's opinion. This is not like an ultimate list or whatever. This is just simply what I think my top 10 are personally. On top of that, none of these images that are used in this video are mine. I made the collage at the beginning of the video, but even that is made up of a bunch of different other people's pictures, and I in no way own them. All of that art can be found from links in the description, except for the collage, obviously, because I did make that one, and a few other things in here, but each source picture can be found in the description. So with that out of the way, so let's just get right on to it. At the number 10 slot, I have Konosuba, and I put Konosuba at the 10th slot because I really enjoy the anime. Obviously, it doesn't have a whole bunch of, like, you know, subtext and complicated plots or anything going on in it, but it is really, really fun to watch, and it's funny. It's nice and like lighthearted. It's a good like starter anime, or even like if you've watched a lot of anime and you're a super like expert on anime. It's just a nice little break because they do not take themselves seriously, and you can tell that they don't. And the entire time, it's just constantly like one joke after another that just works. And that's basically why I gotta put it at 10. Like I like it too much not to put it at number 10. So moving right along to number 9. And at number 9, I put High School of the Dead. Now, High School of the Dead, I think, is a fantastic anime. I love the manga as well. And Psycho, she is, oh god, she is just my dream woman. She's crazy. She loves fighting with a sword. I am an avid sword collector myself. And oh boy, she just does it for me. Now, a lot of people don't really care for this anime for one reason and one reason only, and that's because it does a lot of fan service. There are a lot of jiggling boobs in this anime. While they don't ever show anybody explicitly naked, they do show quite a bit of skin, and there is a lot of boob physics in just every episode, which, you know, is kind of why it's at number 9 and not higher on the list, just because it kind of gets a little carried away with it at times. But I gotta tell you, each one of these episodes is an hour long. There's only 12 of them, and I've watched the series back to back just dozens of times. I absolutely love it. It's got one of the best intros in an anime that I have ever listened to. I just do not get tired of it. Like, it's just a really good intro. I really like how the music is done, and I'm super into it. So that is my number 9 pick. Moving on to number 8, we have Death Note. Now, most people, even if you're a beginning anime watcher or a seasoned watcher, have heard of Death Note or have some experience with Death Note. So I'm not going to, to get real in depth and explain Death Note and whatnot. The reason that Death Note is not higher on my list is because I do not like Season 2. I loved Season 1 of Death Note. It was great, it was very witty, it was drama between L and Light, it was just back and forth, what's going to happen, who's going to outsmart who, and I think it ended very well. Do not like Season 2 because it did not keep that theme. Like, they tried to put Light up against, I think it was L's cousins, I think they went with, he had 2 younger cousins, who combined together had the intellect of L, and they, were able to take Light down because of that. And that just, that really annoys me. Like, the way that they did it just wasn't great. Like, I feel like Light should have easily been able to stop them from figuring it out. He went to extreme measures when he didn't need to. It just wasn't great. That being said, the first season is fantastic, and I love it. So that is why Death Note gets the number 8 slot for me. Moving on to number 7, I have Pokemon. Now, I think it's fairly obvious why Pokemon has to be on this list for top 10 animes. Some people are going to say that it doesn't count as anime, but it 100% does. It is a cartoon animation that comes from Japan. It is just redubbed here in America, so it is 100% for sure an anime. Now, I do not keep up with Pokemon. I no longer watch Pokemon. I stopped pretty early on. Last Pokemon game that I played was Ruby and Sapphire, so I think that's 3rd generation. I could be wrong, but that is where I quit. I'm very hardcore into the 1st generation, the 151 technically if you count Mewtwo, but I did continue on for like 2 generations past that. I was still kind of into it, and then they just got carried away with it. The stories were no longer, you know, very good. The whole like weird thing that Ash doesn't age bugs me. I get why they do it, you know, so they can just keep appealing to younger audiences and keep it around. Like, I get it, it's fine. I just no longer am into it anymore. It's just changed too much. But yeah, that's also, it also has the greatest freaking intro music I have ever heard for like a cartoon as a kid. It was just great. Like, if you don't know the Pokemon rap, I think you're lying to yourself. Like, everybody knows the Pokemon rap. Maybe not by heart, but you definitely heard it and would sing along to it, at least the parts that you know. And that's got to hold up, you know, over time, so it's got to be on this list, and that's why it's in number 7. Moving on to number 6, I have Bleach. Now, again, you're going to probably notice a little bit of a theme with swords in me. We're super into them, so if an anime has swords in it, probably going to be into that anime. Now, with Bleach, there are definitely some rough spots. It's not good, you know, 24/7, that's not all the way through fantastic. But one thing that Bleach does really, really well is filler arcs. And now, I know that might, you know, piss a couple people off that I said that, because a lot of people are going to complain and be like, well, you know, that's all Bleach is filler arcs. To which I say, look at One Piece, and tell me that Bleach is all filler arc. Anyway, what I think they do really well is that the filler arcs in Bleach don't feel like filler. They feel like it's part of the anime, as if it was always intended to be there. And most people, when they throw filler in, it is not like that. That is not generally the case for a filler saga or arc in an anime. It's usually just a buy time while the manga gets a few more issues out, so that the anime has something to go off on later on. And that's it's a good practice and whatnot. I just don't think really like any anime that I've really ever seen does filler arc better than Bleach. I'm not saying that each one of the filler arcs are fantastic, because they're not, but I have never seen an anime that just does filler arcs that well. So that's why it's number 6 for me. And I'm gonna move on to number 5. And at number 5, I have Elfenlied. Now, Elfenlied, if you don't know what it is, please go check it out. It is fantastic. However, if you are of a younger age, do not go check it out, because there is lots and lots and lots and lots of violence and nudity in this one. This is a very short German anime, and it was fantastic. It's a really good love story, mystery story, horror story, supernatural story. It's got everything that you want out of an anime, and honestly, I absolutely love this anime. I've rewatched it many, many times. I just don't get sick of it. It's just that good. However, I will say, if you read the manga does not do that. This is one of those rare cases where the anime is actually much better than the manga, because the anime cuts it short. They get all the good stuff, and then they're done. And that's it. And you get a satisfying ending, which most shows, no matter what they are, be it anime, cartoons, movies, TV shows, don't generally give you a satisfying ending. Elfenlied does. However, that's only really true for the actual anime itself. If you go back and read the manga, which I did because I loved the show so much, you'll realize that the manga goes on for way too long. It kind of stops being good around where the anime ends. Now, the anime ends slightly different, like they kind of created their own ending for the anime, which, is great. It's actually a great ending, and I wish that the manga would have followed suit. even though, you know, the manga obviously came first. But the manga it drags everything out. It goes on probably like 5 times longer than it needs to, and it just gets weird. Like, it gets real weird. And, yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say about that. So we're gonna move on to number 4. And at number 4, I have Full Metal Alchemist, and if you want to get specific, I have Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Now, I have seen both, and it did take me a long time to actually watch Brotherhood, because I grew up with Full Metal Alchemist, and I loved that. I absolutely loved watching that. I enjoyed every part about it, and I heard that Brotherhood was coming out, and that it was supposed to be more close to the manga, which I actually have never read. I should do that, but I actually never read the manga, so I was, of course, very interested in watching Brotherhood because of how much I liked the original. And so I sat down and started watching it, and I got through like the first episode or two, and the way that Edward starts his adventure is kind of really different, and I really did not like it. I felt like it ruined his character at the beginning of Brotherhood versus the original Full Metal Alchemist, so I just quit. Like, I didn't go back and finish it until much later, when I decided, okay, you know, it really wasn't that bad. Let me just power through it and see if they do anything good with it. And oh my god, that was the best decision that I ever made, because I went back to it and I watched Brotherhood, and it is so much better than what we were given before, and which, you know, probably because it's closer to the manga, but it was just so good. And then the movie that ends, which technically it ends both, but it makes a hell of a lot more sense if you watch Brotherhood, makes, you know, just that much more sense. Like, you actually understand why Wrath is there and where he came from and whatnot. And I mean, this anime is just awesome. It's all about like that brotherly bond and just trying to survive and become what you were, but to realize that you've become a different person along the way, and that's okay. And not only is it okay, but you've become a better person. And for all of those reasons, and just a lot more, I really like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It had to be on this list, and it had to be high on this list. So that's why it is number 4 for me. And at number 3, I have Code Geass. Now, Code Geass is another one of those, like, supernatural, but also, like, historical fiction, kind of post-apocalyptic future stories. And I know a lot of those words kind of contradict each other, but trust me, it works, and it would all make sense if you have seen or if you plan on watching this anime. This anime is fantastic, and I know I keep saying that, but I'm just gonna keep saying it because, you know, these are my top 10, so obviously I've given this a lot of thought, and obviously I really like all of these animes. The closer we get to number 1, the more I like them, thus why I put them in that order. And I don't even want to spoil anything for this one. Just go watch it. If you don't like the ending, it's probably because you liked Lelouch so much. And even if you hated the ending, I have a feeling that you secretly kind of like it as well. And I honestly really enjoyed the ending. I didn't want it to happen, but I knew it was coming, and I was glad that they did it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on to number 2. And for number 2, I have Dragon Ball Z. For a lot of people, Dragon Ball Z was their first introduction into anime. It's like the first anime you ever saw. I know, at least for my generation, it was definitely one of the first animes available to us, thanks to Toonami on Cartoon Network, which was great. And I'm glad that I've seen that they brought that back a couple years ago, which is fantastic. That's just an awesome little program to kind of just get you into anime and some other shows out there. Now, I have Dragon Ball Z specifically because I do not like Super. And I know that that's a controversial statement, but there are a lot of things that I don't like about Super. There are some cool things, like Ultra Instinct is really cool. I gotta give it up for that. But I just feel like they also ruined a lot of people's characters, namely Goku. They just kind of really screwed that over. I just feel like they really just ruined a lot of the characters for me. They kind of changed their personalities to a way that just didn't make sense, to where they just became completely different characters, and in most cases it was not an improvement. It seems like Super was much more of just a cash grab. People were demanding it for the last 10 years, so okay, let's give it to them kind of deal, more than it was like thought out and hey, this is going to be really awesome and we're going to keep true to the DBZ tradition and keep it going. But you know, my hatred for Super aside, Dragon Ball Z is going to be absolutely forever one of my favorite animes ever. It's always going to hold that special place in my heart because it's, you know, wasn't the first anime that I ever saw, but it's definitely one of the first, and I definitely got really attached to it. As a kid, you know, having anything that involved like superpowers and fighting was just fantastic, and I could not get enough of it. Did get a little bored during the whole like forever long Frieza fight, but after that moment, you know, Dragon Ball Z pretty much gets a lot better, and they do kind of explain that away later on. I know a lot of the excuses that they have for things in the show are kind of BS and, you know, just made up on the spot, but it does kind of make sense if you think about it, in the sense that they're moving so fast that we wouldn't be able to keep up with them, so they had to break it down and, you know, drag the fight out for us so that we could see everything that was happening and hear everything that was happening, because they're moving at like light speed and whatnot. And, you know, it's not the greatest excuse, but at least if that helps you get through that fight with that excuse, you know, whatever works for you. I also really liked the whole Future Trunks coming back, and this is the best version of Future Trunks. I do not like any other version of Future Trunks, including the one in Super. It's just not great. He comes off like super badass in this, starts off really badass, gets kind of, you know, like whiny and obsessive about his dad, but it totally makes sense that he's that way because he grew up not knowing him, and well, his dad's a prick at this point in the series. So yeah, I mean that's why it's got to be number 2 for me. It's one of my favorite animes of all time, and for nostalgia reasons, it will always be that way. And for last but not least, we're gonna move on to what I consider my number 1 anime, and that is Naruto. Specifically, Naruto Shippuden. Now, Shippuden is after like the time gap in Naruto, where I did like the original Naruto. He got a little annoying after a while, and not like a super massive amount happens in it. But in Shippuden, oh god, man, they kick up the action and the fighting and the story into high gear. It's a little slow to start, but once they start, it is just battle after battle after battle after battle, and it's just great. I mean, there's lots of flaws with this anime. It's by no means perfect. I just really, really like it. I really can connect with Naruto's character, and watching his growth is just amazing to me. And just everything about this anime speaks to me. I like it for a plethora of reasons. I could probably talk about Naruto for hours upon hours, and I have. I'm not particularly fond of Sasuke, but I do like his abilities, and I do like seeing the teamwork between him and Naruto. But that's going to be about it for this session of Let's Talk About Anime and Cartoons with Joe. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I really want to make this a running thing. I want to keep doing episodes like this. I want to try to do at least one a week. Again, they're not going to be all top 10 videos or anything like that. I just wanted to do this to kind of break us in together into this new kind of format. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, please hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, have a good one. Bye.